and my dear young friends. It's a great privilege to be here, and what I would like to briefly talk about is strategic and entrepreneurship and its relevance to Indian firms. Now, when I was invited, I thought let me do some more research on entrepreneurship. And I started searching, and there were about 13 lakh scholarship articles on strategic entrepreneurship, right? So I studied quite a lot of them, and I prepared a 200x slide. And after a few days, I remembered how much I hated all these conferences where you had to sit for long, for everybody who was there and giving their gyan and everything else. So today, I'll try and keep it simple, right? And I'll try and keep it fun. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it, and hopefully you'll take something away from it. Um, so just for a brief background, our world is changing, right? And some of you may be aware, for example, Uber, one of the world's largest taxi companies, does not own a single car, right? And when you put this in context of how difficult it is to get a taxi license in any Indian or any city in the world, in fact, that's amazing, right? You have to clear a lot of pollution clearances, there are special taxes for commercial cars, there are limitations in the number of commercial cabs that you can run in any city, and yet there is Uber, right? Similarly, Facebook, right? I think it's one of the world's most published platform where there's a lot of content. Most of the people read their news, unfortunately, on Facebook. It has led to issues like Facebook as well, but you'll be surprised that Facebook doesn't publish any of its content, right? And given the difficulties of a traditional newspaper or a news magazine in accessing its content, in developing its content, and the hard work that it takes for a journalist or a writer to get one article of a few hundred words in, and then in comes Facebook and changes everything, right? This is where people access their information, their fun, their entertainment. Similarly, Alibaba. Now, if you think about WTO, if you think about FTAs, free trade agreements, and country treaties, and trade agreements, and licensing, and import-export regulations, and all that, you think it will be a big challenge for any company to dominate international trade or trade per se. But Alibaba has successfully done it, right? And it's a multi-billion-dollar company now. Similarly, Airbnb. From some recent news that I read, I think the Mansingh Hotel in New Delhi was leased to the Tata Group for about 900 crores or something. And once you recognize the level of investment it takes to build a hotel and to run it and to advertise it and to keep it running, and you realize that it's a big industry, and yet in comes Airbnb and becomes the largest accommodation provider in the world, right? Does nothing. It doesn't even own a single room anywhere in the world. And yet you can go there, you go on the website and get a room in almost any city in the world, right? So our world is changing very quickly. If you look at the change of pace for these key technologies that have come in, for example, airlines, they took about 64 years to reach the first 50 million customers. 64 years. And then automobiles took slightly less, and similarly electricity, one of the most basic things, took about 46 years. But look at how this change is coming in more and more quickly. Something that came in after electricity, after television, after radio. So internet took 7 years. And if you look more closely, then Pokemon Go, took 19 days to reach 50 million customers. 19 days. And it wasn't free. The company made a lot of money off it. So the world is not only changing, it's changing fast. And the pace of change is increasing every day. So this is, you'll probably not be able to make out a few of the companies that are there, but what it shows is that in the past 5-7 years, the number of companies, the unicorns, the companies with a billion-dollar valuation have increased per year. So there's a lot of disruption happening, right? And it is not only is the change and its pace increasing, also every minute counts now. Every minute something is happening, every minute businesses are changing, every minute businesses are acquiring customers, every minute somebody is capturing the market, right? And that's what happens in 1 minute over the internet. It is such an amazing tool. I don't even want to stay for the next 30 more seconds that are there on the slide, right? And this disruption, this change, this takeover is everywhere. It is across industries. And this is my former employer Accenture. We did some research, and about 63% of the industries are facing this disruption, this change. And of the rest, about 44% of the companies are highly susceptible. They are not facing the disruption right now, but they're likely to in near future, and they are at risk to it, right? And it is not entire industries, and sometimes what we think is, oh, the change is coming and probably the bottom half of the industry will go away. But it is not so. Even the most leading companies, the big companies, multinationals, people who are at the technological and business forefront of their industries, even they are impacted, right? So S&P 500 companies, the top 500 companies listed on the US market, their average age was 67 years a couple of years back. Which means that the top 500 companies of the United States and by implication of the world were about 67 years old. But now that age has come down to about 15 years. So all the big companies, big revenue companies, they were probably born 15 years ago, probably in my father's generation, through my father's generation, right? So everybody is affected. And people will say, oh, this is all technology and somebody's doing only 5 industries and this and that. And it doesn't affect everyone, right? So this innovation, this disruption is not happening everywhere, right? But you'll be surprised, right? So I think, and this is quite funny actually, so there are about 40 companies, 40 startups, and they're not small companies, they're not flukes. 40 companies are trying to change the laboratory industry, right? So it's everywhere. Now, this is again what is the level of disruption or the risk of disruptions in the major industries, and what you will notice is that there is nothing in the lower left bottom, right? There is nothing. There is no industry which has a low risk of disruption or which is not currently being disrupted. Everything is either in the center or it is already being disrupted or is highly susceptible to disruption. Now, when we talk about disruption and it's in the news every day, people say, hey, it's all technology, right? And it's all about computers and internet and mobile phones. But I would argue